You brought up the internet. With your vast experience, how do you feel the internet has changed sales?
Well, it's radically changed a lot of selling because it's easier and less expensive and so on. Somebody asked me for a catalog the other day, and I had to think for a minute, do we have one anymore? And we don't. There might be some laying around in the warehouse. We don't have one. You go to my web page or you go to the eBay page, and you either pay full retail, which is plenty, or you get a little discount at the eBay page and so on. But everything we do is at one of those two places. And there are lots of other places, but everything we do is there. So we don't have to go through all that with everybody now cost-wise. So that's great. One thing I had to get used to was because you go into such a vast universe of oftentimes unqualified people. A lot of people are on my mailing list who aren't even in selling. I wonder why they're there. Maybe they were lonely or something, but it goes to them. So I had to get used to as I told you, my personal face-to-face closing rate runs about 86% and has for years. That's not counting people who buy a week later. I'm talking about on the spot, 86%. Then in direct mail, which I did for years, some of my greater pieces got as high as 10%. And that was shocking to me. Why didn't the 90% buy? But then I discovered 10% will get you into the Hall of Fame. And most of them were, 3.5, 4% return. So I got used to that. When I started seeing internet figures, it was depressing to me. You send out 20,000 whatevers and you get back 0.5% of 1%. I'd never seen figures like that. Then I figured out what 0.5% was with 20,000, let's say, and it didn't cost me anything to print or mail or whatever, and I got rather comfortable with that. Now, if I send it to a qualified list, a hardcore, they know me, they know my material and so on, then I can drive those numbers back up to something that I'm a little more used to. But once you adjust to the fact that 98% of the people or more aren't going to buy from you on the internet, but it's still changing whole industries. I'm telling some of my close friends in the automobile industry, if you're a young man, let's say in their 20s or 30s, the industry as you know it isn't going to be there by the end of your career. So start investing, buying houses, doing whatever you got to do, because we're soon about to not need you. It's what Amazon has. Wait till the Amazon car comes out. The Google car is in the pre-manufacturing stage, and we don't have to go mud wrestle with a salesperson at a dealership. I click on, I pick out my options, I hit order, and a week later it shows up on a truck in my front yard, or it shows up at the dealership, which has since become a service bay, not a place where you go to mud wrestle. So I can't think of an industry that isn't going to be radically changed or hasn't already been radically changed by the internet, but that's fine. Shift gears. In our little town of Placerville, numerous merchants sort of know who I am and what I do. I have a deal with Gigi. I don't take local clients, so I'm not Ben Gay in Placerville. I'm Gigi Ronzoni's husband, and we don't know what he does, her family having been here for 100 years. But the few that know what I do and think I might have something to offer them, they're whining about the internet. And I said, get in your back room with a computer and you start selling on the internet. People walk in the door are fine, and at some point you might want to shut the store and just work on the internet. But it's not like the internet is stealing your customers and nothing you can do about it. Get good about doing something about it. I said, I can't take local clients, but I'll send you to some people who can write you good copy and do this and do that. And Gigi can come show you how to get on the internet and do an eBay thing and branch out from there and so on. But, the buggy whip manufacturers, before the car hit its stride with assembly line production, I'm sure were whining and carrying on. No one's buying buggy whips anymore. They should have bought a Ford dealership. They were easy to get. Mm-hmm. Ford was desperate to get people to sell his cars. So they needed to shift, and that's what people need to do now. There is a new world upon us, coming faster and faster and faster, but it doesn't scare me at all. I'm like young Ben. My daddy raised me to be a salesman. Pick a city, pick a town, pick a product, and tell me what we're doing nowadays. Maybe it's the internet, whatever, and I'll adjust, because selling hasn't really changed since the days of the Yankee peddler hundreds of years ago, and probably before that too, the spice merchants of the Orient. There's certain steps a buyer needs to go through to make a buying decision. And whether it's chiseled in a rock or sent to you in with contact lenses where messages are put in front of your face, which I'm told is coming. It doesn't make any difference. They still have to go through the steps. They have to be educated. They have to trust you, trust the message, and so on. So no matter what's going on, if you're marketing something, selling or marketing something, you need to learn how to sell.
Everybody sells, no matter what career they're in. And obviously, to get your voice heard or have things work out the way you want, you're selling. Some people do it for a living, but it's very important to learn how to persuade people.
Absolutely. My greatest sale I ever made was made primarily in direct mail letters, and it was to Gigi Ronzoni to talk. I was out of town talking her into marrying me. And I wrote her and called her and wrote her and called her. And finally, she said yes. And that was a great sale. And now in casual conversation with her, when we're discussing where we're going to go to dinner or something, she'll say, I know that line. I've heard that before. And I said, yeah, it was when I was trying to get you to, that was a choice close about when we were going to get married, not if. Tonight, it's you want to go to this restaurant or that restaurant. But I said, that's just the way I think. And yes, you are a victim of my sales talents. That's the reason you're Mrs. Gay.